It had been 6 months since everything fell apart. 6 months since the night music played in the background while two people stood in front of each other and chose silence over love. And yet, somehow, nothing had really ended. It just changed. Slowly, quietly, painfully. Kael was no longer the boy people used to know. He still walked the same hallways, sat in the same classroom, wore the same uniform, but everything else about him felt distant, like he was there, but not really there. He laughed more now, talked more, even smiled sometimes, but none of it was real. If you looked closely, really closely, you would notice it. The way his eyes never stayed in one place too long. The way his smile faded the second people looked away. The way silence seemed to follow him, even in a crowded room. It wasn't that he was broken anymore. It was worse than that. He had learned how not to feel. And that scared her more than anything else. Because Elaris remembered the boy who felt everything. The boy who cared too much. The boy who once looked at her like she was the only thing that made sense in a confusing world. Now, he looked at her like she was just another face in the crowd. And that hurt more than all their fights combined. Every day, she told herself to move on. Every day, she failed. Ryan was still there. Still kind. Still patient. Still everything she once thought she wanted. But something inside her had changed. Or maybe, it had finally become clear. Because no matter how hard she tried to focus on what was in front of her, her heart kept drifting back to what she lost. To him. To Kael. And the worst part was, she knew she had caused it. That realization sat heavy in her chest, day after day. Until one afternoon, something happened that she couldn't ignore. It was raining. Not the soft kind of rain that people enjoy. This was the heavy kind. The kind that soaked through clothes in seconds. The kind that made people run for cover. Students rushed out of school, laughing, shouting, trying to stay dry. But Elaris stood still under the entrance roof, waiting. Ryan had texted her. He said he would be late. So she waited. And as she stood there, watching the rain fall harder and harder, she saw him. Across the street. Standing in the rain. Not moving. Not reacting. Just standing there. Kael. For a moment, she thought maybe he would run. Or at least step back under a shelter. But he didn't. He just stood there, letting the rain soak him completely. Like it didn't matter. Like nothing mattered. Something about that didn't feel right. And before she could stop herself, she stepped out into the rain. Her shoes hit the wet ground, her uniform instantly starting to soak. But she didn't care. Kael, she called out. No response. She moved closer. Kael, what are you doing? Still nothing. Her heart started beating faster. Not out of anger. Not out of frustration. But fear. She reached him and grabbed his arm. And slowly, he turned to look at her. And in that moment, she felt something inside her break. Because his eyes were empty. Not angry. Not sad. Not even tired. Just empty. You're going to get sick, she said softly. He blinked, like he was trying to process her words. Then he gave a small shrug. Does it matter? That one sentence hit her harder than anything he had ever said before. Yes, she said quietly. It matters. He looked at her for a moment, then let out a faint laugh. It used to. She tightened her grip on his arm. Stop doing that. Doing what? Acting like nothing affects you. He tilted his head slightly. What makes you think it does? Her voice cracked. Because I know you. For just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Then it disappeared. You knew me, he said. And just like that, the distance between them felt even wider than before. I still do, she whispered. He shook his head slowly. No, you don't. And then he gently pulled his arm away and walked past her, leaving her standing in the rain, alone. Again. That night, she cried. Not the quiet kind of crying she had gotten used to, but the kind that hurts. The kind that makes it hard to breathe. Because for the first time, she realized something she had been avoiding. She hadn't just lost him. She didn't even recognize him anymore. And maybe, He didn't recognize her either. Days turned into weeks, and things didn't get better. They got worse. Kael started disappearing more often, skipping classes, showing up late, leaving early. People noticed. Whispers spread. Something's wrong with him. He's not the same. Did something happen? But no one had the answer, except Elaris, and she couldn't stay silent anymore. So she made a decision, one she had been avoiding for a long time. She ended things with Ryan. There was no fight, no argument, just honesty. "I'm sorry," she told him, "but my heart is somewhere else." Ryan looked at her quietly, then nodded. "I know," he said. And just like that, it was over. But instead of relief, she felt fear, because now there was nothing left to hide behind. No distractions, no excuses, just the truth. She still loved Kael, and she had no idea if he could ever love her again. One evening, everything came to a breaking point. Kael hadn't been in school all day. No one had heard from him, and something about that didn't feel right. So she went looking for him. She checked everywhere. The classroom, the field, the staircase. Nothing. Until she remembered. The rooftop. The place they used to go. Back when things were simple. Back when love didn't feel like a battlefield. Her heart pounded as she climbed the stairs, each step slower than the last, until she reached the door. She hesitated, then pushed it open. And there he was, sitting on the edge, looking out at the city, alone. "Kael," she said softly. "I was wondering when you'd find me," he replied without turning. She stepped closer carefully. "You shouldn't be up here." "Why?" "Scared I'll fall." "Yes." He let out a quiet breath. "I'm not going to jump." "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." There was a pause. "I just like the quiet." She moved closer. "Kael, talk to me." "What do you want me to say?" "The truth." He laughed softly. "You couldn't handle it last time." "I can now." There was a long silence. Then finally, "I'm tired," he said. "Tired of what?" "Everything." The word hung heavy in the air. "I tried," he continued. "After everything, I tried to move on, to not care." His voice lowered. "But it doesn't go away." "What doesn't?" she asked. He turned to look at her, and this time, there was emotion in his eyes. Real emotion. "You." Silence. Deep. Unavoidable. "No matter what I do, you're still there." Tears filled her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you." "I know." "Then why does it feel like you hate me?" "I don't hate you." "Then what is this?" He looked at her for a long moment. "I don't trust you." That broke her. Completely. "That's worse," she whispered. "I know." Silence again. "I still love you," she said. He closed his eyes. "Don't say that." "Why?" "Because it doesn't change anything." "Then tell me what will." He opened his eyes slowly. "Time." She nodded, tears falling freely. "Then I'll wait." He didn't answer, because part of him wanted to believe her, and part of him was too afraid to try again. So they stood there, on that rooftop, between what they were and what they might never be again. Not healed, not fixed, but not completely broken either. And maybe, for now, that was enough.